Hello and welcome to the Emerge Leadership Connection, where we connect you with the ideas and concepts to unlock legendary leadership so you can emerge and become who you are meant to be. I'm your host, Cody Dakota, and on this Takedown Thursday, I will be your leadership coach, teacher, and mentor. On today's episode, we will talk about Bruce Lee's thoughts on gifts, strengths, uniqueness, and status quo. If this is your first time listening to the Emerge Leadership Connection, stop immediately and go back to episode 0. If you want to get the full benefits that this podcast has to offer and emerge into who you were meant to be at a faster pace, then you'll want to go back to that episode to understand the theory behind how each episode is designed to help you improve. Before we start the episode, I'd like to thank our supporters, who allow us to continue to bring value to you, while also allowing us to support amazing causes that will impact our future generations. If you would like to find out more about the causes we support, as well as how to become a member of our family and help us reach more people in order to impact our future, please go to www.emergeleadership.club, where you can check out all of our episodes, including many supporter-only episodes, as well as get access to other exclusive member-only benefits. Again, that is www.emergeleadership.club to get that access and officially join our family. Now, onto the show. Today's words of wisdom come from Bruce Lee, who said, "The original founder of a style started out with hypothesis, but now it has become the gospel truth, and people who go into that become the product of it. It doesn't matter how you are, who you are, how you are structured, how you are built, or how you are made. It doesn't seem to matter. You just go in there and be that product. And that, to me, is not right." Now, this episode is coming to you on the week of Bruce Lee's birthday. He would have been in his 70s this year. And I love a lot of what Bruce Lee came out with. And I felt that this quote right here not only relates to leadership, but strongly relates to his whole philosophy within martial arts and in life in general, I would say. So, if you don't know the background of Bruce Lee grew up in China, where he learned a style of martial arts called Wing Chun. And it is a very straightforward martial art. And it incorporates a lot of hand movements and not very many kicks. The whole idea is that in the style, you control the center line and you minimize the amount of effort you use and wait for the perfect openings to hit vital areas of the opponent. That's basically how the entire structure is set. And Bruce Lee learned from one of the best masters of Wing Chun. His name was Ip Man. There's a lot of movies on Ip Man as well out there. Now, Bruce Lee ended up moving to the United States. And when he came to the United States, he went to university, where some people found out about his martial arts skills and kind of wanted him to teach them martial arts. And so he decided to go for it, which was something that angered a lot of the traditional Chinese martial artists in the area. Along with that, Bruce Lee made a decision not to teach as many of the traditional masters taught, because as he studied the style, he believed that there were a lot of pieces to it that were kind of drawn out and didn't need to be done in the manner in which they were done. He felt that it could be taught to be more effective more quickly than how traditionally it was taught. And that led to him creating what he called Jeet Kune Do. Now, this was something that really completely angered all the traditionalists in the area. And really Bruce Lee's train of thought kind of revolutionized martial arts and completely changed it. And we're still seeing the impacts of his mindset. Now, that really goes into how his whole teaching philosophy was, and really is brought to us in this quote, I feel. He says, the original founder of a style, and he's not saying any specific style, he's just saying a style. And I believe he says that because there are literally hundreds of styles of martial arts out there. And he says, started out with the style with a hypothesis, right? So they created the style with a idea, right? And that's how just about everything is started. A job is started that way. A movement is started that way. Everything starts out with just an idea. It's a hypothesis. It has to be tested, right? And when it's tested and it turns out to work really well, it tends to take hold amongst people. Now, Bruce Lee goes from that point and he kind of flips it into the next part where he says, but now it has become the gospel truth, and people who go into that become the product of it. So he goes into it saying, this started out as just a hypothesis, but now people take it as the only truth, is what he's saying. And that there's no other thing other than what this truth is. And people who go into that style become a product of it. So the same thing happens in the world in all over the place. Take our educational system, for instance. We teach in our educational system like this is the only way to teach people. And if you don't learn this way, then you're not going to be successful. It's the same way with how traditional test taking is done. It's designed to measure IQ. And the idea is if you don't do well in your IQ tests, that you're not going to make it very far in life with your ACTs and your SATs. And people take that as the gospel truth. It's a main measurement in getting into most universities. If you don't meet that SAT, ACT requirement that school has, they don't even consider you. And this is something that Bruce Lee really felt was the wrong kind of idea to look at people, right? And he explains why here. He says it doesn't matter how you are, right? We each have our own kind of temperament, right? Some of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts. Some of us are more hard-headed, and some of us are more laid back. And these are just natural things that happen in us. It could be genetics, it could be how you were raised, but we each have a certain way we just are. He says who you are, right? What are the different things that have helped you become who you are today? Your past. Your past can dramatically change how you function in the world, how you are structured. I mean, even that really pertains a lot to martial arts, right? How you're structured or how you are built, right? If you're a short person versus if you're a tall person, right? You're going to have different strengths, different weaknesses. And he says how you are made. Now, if you take that outside of just the martial arts world, we're all structured, built, and we all have different types of gifts. One thing that you're really good at, someone else is probably terrible at. And I know there's a lot of those areas that I have. I know where my strengths lie, and I know where my weaknesses lie, and I can admit those to you. I'm not going to try and say that I'm perfect at everything, because I know for a fact I am not perfect at all. So don't feel ashamed if you don't feel perfect, because trust me, you're not and I'm not. None of us are. We have these different strengths, different weaknesses. We're all built, structured, made in different ways. And that's not a bad thing, right? But when you take something as the gospel truth, the only way things can be done, Bruce Lee says it doesn't seem to matter. It doesn't seem to matter who you are, how you're structured, built, or made. It doesn't seem to matter to that basically status quo. If you don't fit into that puzzle as people who take it as the gospel truth are, you're automatically rejected. Or you force yourself to become a part of that product. And he says you just go in there and be that product. You basically join the status quo. And Bruce Lee says, and that to me is not right. And that's something that I strongly have to agree with Bruce Lee on. We all have a tremendous amount of talents. But my talents are not the same as yours. Yours won't be the same as someone else. Even if your strength area is very similar to someone, your strength still won't be perfectly the same as someone else, right? Like if you look at speakers, right? John Maxwell is not the same type of speaker as Tony Robbins, who's not the same type of speaker as a Simon Sinek, who's not the same kind of speaker as a Gary Vaynerchuk. They're all different types of speakers, all very powerful speakers, but they're not the same. They're not built the same. They're not made the same. They're not structured the same. And we should look at ourselves as different. Even if we're within the same field, we still have different strengths, different gifts, different ways we were raised, different body structures. One of the reasons I love John Maxwell is he's not afraid to make fun of himself. One of my favorite stories from John Maxwell that he tells is that he was having dinner with an American sprinter athlete. And he's thinking about this all night. He's looking at himself, looking at her, and he says, I bet you that I could beat you at a 100-meter race. Now, we're talking to an Olympic medalist that is hyper-competitive versus John Maxwell, who, if you don't know John Maxwell, he's not a very fit guy. He's got a little bit of meat to him, and he's not anywhere near an Olympic sprinter physique. And so she's ready to go outside, ready to race. And he says that, I bet you that I could beat you at a 100-meter race if you gave me an 80-meter head start. He says that he wanted to say 70 meters, but then when he really gave himself a good luck, he could only do 80 meters. So he needed that 80-meter head start to get the last 20. But he's all right with who he is. He's all right with how he's structured, and he utilizes that in how he speaks. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's amazing. That's how someone who knows what their talents are, who knows who they are, who knows how they're structured and how they are, should act. Me, for instance, I love martial arts. That's one of the things that I've grown up doing. I've done martial arts for 20 years now. And I have competed internationally. I've learned a lot of philosophy from martial arts, and I've utilized those philosophies in my life. That's why I bring it into my speaking. It's because this is an area that I love. It's part of who I am. It's a part of how I've been built over my life. It's a part of how I've been made. And I bring that to you so you can utilize the same kind of knowledge and philosophies in your own life. And that's something that Bruce Lee would have wanted for you too. He would want you to see what are your gifts, how are you structured, and he would want you to find your uniqueness, and he would want you to break out of the status quo. He would want you to become the original founder of your own style, come out with your own hypothesis for how the future should be. And that is the role of a leader right there. The role of a leader is to look into the future and create a hypothesis, create a vision, create a why of what we want the future to become. I have a vision in my mind that I want to see a new generation of legendary leaders rise up and completely change the world for the better. And that's going to require each of us, you right now listening, to discover what is your uniqueness, to discover how you are, who you are, how you are structured, how you are built, and how you are made. And to utilize each of those strengths, each of those gifts, each of those uniquenesses in your own way to dramatically impact the world. That is my vision of the future that I believe is possible. That's my hypothesis. Now, I don't expect you to take what I'm saying as the gospel truth. I want you to go out there and discover your own hypothesis for the future. Discover your own hypothesis with the people you lead and guide them to your own vision of the future. Guide them to the next level. Guide them to the how amazing opportunities that are in front of them. Guide them to their potential. That is the role of a leader. To not only know who you are, how you're structured, how you're built, and how you are made, but to guide the next generation, to guide your team, to guide those around you, so that they can discover how they are, who they are, how they are structured, how they are built, and how they are made, so that they can utilize their own uniqueness, their own strengths, and break the status quo in their own ways. That is the calling that we have as legendary leaders. And this is going to lead us into our coaching questions of the day. What do you take as the gospel truth? Why do you take that specifically as the gospel truth? Is there any way you can create a new hypothesis based on what you have considered the gospel truth? How are you? Who are you? How are you structured? How are you built? How are you made? Looking at those questions, how can you utilize that information to create a new hypothesis, to use your strengths, your uniqueness, your gifts, to create a new hypothesis? Look at the people around you and ask the same question. What do they take as the gospel truth? Do you see something different based on how they are, who they are, how they are structured, how they are built, or how they were made? How can you help them discover their own hypothesis based on who they are, how they are structured, how they are built, how they are made? What is that vision of the future that you see, and what action are you going to take today, right now, in order to make that vision a reality? Welcome back, and congratulations. You are one step closer to becoming who you were meant to be. I'm excited to hear about the fantastic takeaways you got from this episode. I'd love to hear from you, so go over to www.emergeleadership.club right now and click on the tab to see how to contact us, as well as see our other amazing services. While you're there, if you would like to emerge into who you were meant to be even faster, then you'll want to officially join our family by clicking on the Become a Patron button, where you can gain access to exclusive, member-only content that is absolutely amazing, including access to supporter-only podcasts, Q&A sessions directly with me, and the ability to get shout-outs on future episodes, all while also helping to support some amazing causes which are actively working toward improving the future for generations to come. Just to make sure you got it, to join our family and get access to this exclusive member-only content and help some amazing causes at the same time, go over to www.emergeleadership.club and click on the Become a Patron button right now. I'm your host, Cody Dakota, and I'm honored to have spent this time with you today. My final message for you today, and listen closely. It's time. Wake up your potential. Let go of your fears and anxieties, and let's discover what is possible. Emerge and become who you were meant to be.